Right, Echo and the Bunnymen, kids. This lesson has been quite a long time coming. I've been meaning to look at some Bunnymen stuff for ages. I've not done so previously, and I think they're one of the most requested bands that I get on this channel, so I thought I'd fill this rather shameful gap in my catalogue of lessons today. I'm going to be looking at the track Rescue, and I've actually prepared another 2 or 3 Bunnymen tracks, so if you like this lesson then I may well do some more in the not too distant future. But let me begin by playing through a bit of this song for you. So there we are. I've chosen to start by looking at this track just because it's a fantastic track. It's one of my favourite Bunnymen songs, I think, and also offers a really good way into the guitar playing style of the great Will Sergeant. And whilst, of course, I'm a Bunnymen fan, I'm not a super fan. I don't know everything that they've done, and I've actually spent the last week or so just listening through their back catalogue, and there's so much good stuff on there, so much good guitar playing as well. And I certainly agree with those who say that Will Sergeant should be up there with the other guitar greats of this kind of era. So people like Johnny Marr, James Honeyman, Scott, John McGeoch, all those kind of characters that I'm always banging on about on this channel. So let me break down this song for you. I'm going to talk about those Will Sergeant guitar parts in a bit of detail, and I also want to give you just an easy beginner friendly strum along version of this song as well. We're in the key of A for this one, roughly speaking, though there is a little bit of mixing of major and minor. Maybe there's a bit of Mixolydian modal stuff going on. I don't think with this style of songwriting there's much point in going into a kind of in-depth theoretical analysis of the harmony, so I'm not going to go there. But let's start with the main riff and with the verse section of the tune, and I just want to outline the basic chords to start with, and that seems to be something like this. Let me just turn off some of these effects actually. So yeah, just going from A to G basically, and you can hear acoustic guitars doing that at the start of the song. If you watch the Bunnymen play this live, sometimes Ian McCulloch has got a guitar and he's strumming away with these basic chords. So I think if you want to sing and play the tune, or if you just want a nice beginner friendly version of the tune, then you might just want to bash out these basic chords. So just open A to G, 2 beats on each of those chords. Play it like that. You could play it as bar chords if you wanted to. So over the top of that we've got the great main riff, which I think is played by Will Sergeant, and just to remind you, that goes like this. So fantastic riff, this one. Very simple, quite easy to play, but I think just try writing riffs like this and you'll find it's actually really hard to come up with riffs which are this cool and this effective. So we're starting like this. We're playing on the second and third strings, and we've got 10th fret on the 2nd string, 9th fret on the 3rd string, so an A and an E note. We're just going between those notes. Then we're dropping down to a G at the 8th fret on the 2nd string. We're holding down that E still on the 3rd string. So it's A, E, G, E, G, E, G, E. And then we're going to this shape here. So we're holding the G on the 2nd string and we're going down to a D at the 7th fret on the 3rd string. So we've now got G and D. And then dropping down to an F sharp, 7th fret on the 2nd string. Quite easy to play, but I think fingering is important if you want to play this smoothly, and I think the best way to do it is probably this. So we're playing with 3rd and 4th fingers to start with, and then you're playing that G with the 2nd finger, and then you're playing the G and the D with 1st and 2nd fingers, and then barring that 1st finger across the D and the F sharp. Seems to be a nice smooth way of playing it. And rhythmically speaking, we've just got that G note held across the bar line there, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2. So just watch out for that, and then the rhythm in the second half of the riff is the same. As far as the picking goes, I think naturally I'd probably play this riff with an upstroke on the B string and a down on the G. But looking at video footage, I think that Will Sargent probably plays it with all downstrokes, and I think that's got the advantage that every note comes through really strongly. It's got the same kind of attack to it, so that might be the best way to go on this riff, I think. That's the main riff, and you can hear that at the start of the song, and it's also played in the choruses as well. Let's talk about the verse riff, and this is a little bit hard to decipher, but I think the gist of it seems to be this. And it's played in quite a raw way, a little bit messy, kind of messy in a good way, but this is how I've decided to do it. So we've got this basic chord shape here. We've got a droning open A string, and then I suppose it's kind of an A power chord shape. So 7th fret on the D, 9th fret on the G. So that, a nice kind of strong power chord sound, and then just lifting up the 3rd finger, and I've got my 1st finger barred at the 7th fret. It can actually be barred all the way across here. Most of the time I'm just hearing 2 or 3 strings, but if you bar the 1st finger all the way across, I think that just helps with the riff. So we're just lifting up the 3rd finger to an A and a D note here, and then I'm hearing this, so a G note in there as well. So this is the 8th fret on the 2nd string, and then we're lifting up that 2nd finger just to bar at the 7th fret again, and then putting the 3rd finger down again. And sometimes you can hear other notes coming through as well, so the 7th fret on the top 2 strings, and then at the end of the riff I'm hearing this kind of sound. So it's 7th fret on the D, G, B, and 8th fret on the top string. So it's, I suppose it seems like a sort of D7 sound there, but I think it's probably played against an A droning note. So again, theoretical analysis of that probably isn't particularly helpful. It's just that shape there. And you can hear lots of variations throughout the verse of the song, in particular in the second verse it gets a little bit more strummy. So that's the basic idea. Don't think you need to be too fussy. I think mostly downstrokes is the way to go on this riff. So setting up that kind of 8th note all downstrokes rhythm, and then you can just throw in some upstrokes in between some of those down strums when it feels good. So then for the chorus, Will Sergeant is just going back to the main riff, and the basic harmony, if you just wanted to strum the chords, goes something like this. So we've got a D, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4. Now I think it's A minor, 2, 3, 4 to a G. So 4 beats on each of those chords. You could play those chords as open chords, maybe you could play them as bar chords. That sounds pretty good as well. That's just repeated twice. That's the basic harmony, the rhythm guitar part for the chorus. Then we've got a great instrumental section in the middle, and again, a little bit hard to decipher exactly what's going on. I'm sure there are various different layers of guitar here, probably doing some slightly different things, but the gist of it seems to be based around this chord shape here. So it's similar to that power chord shape that we had in the verse. So open A string and then 7 on the D, 9 on the G, and I'm including this high A note here as well at the 10th fret on the B string. So just a nice A power chord sound. And again, just setting up that 8th note all downstrokes rhythm, and then occasionally throwing in some upstrokes as well. And you could even just let your little finger press down at the 10th fret on the top string and you get a even thicker sound. And then what I'm doing is I'm just taking that shape higher. I'm taking it up to the 12th fret. So we've now got this kind of sound. So once again, a droning open A string and then 12, 14 and 15. And then we've just got a little bit of movement at the top of that chord. So I'm going from 15 to 13 on the B string. So you can also give that chord a little bit of a bend as well. And let that little finger just play that high E string too. And then just going back to that initial chord at the end of that section, that down, up, down strum. And you can hear he's giving it a little bit of whammy bar at that point as well. I think on live stuff he's kind of ending on that high chord. It sounds more like he's coming down here on the studio recording, just to end that section of the tune. And that's kind of it. There is a little breakdown section and there's a few little atmospheric-y things that I can hear there. I don't know if it's worth breaking that down in any kind of detail. I think when you hear them play that breakdown section of the tune live, he's developing those ideas a little bit more, and he's got some kind of melodic stuff just played on the D string there, and you could take that kind of stuff up higher as well. So I think you can just experiment with that section of the tune. I don't think there are any signature parts which need to be broken down from the original recording, so maybe just turn on some delay and just try doing some atmospheric stuff. Let me whiz you through the gear that I'm using today. Not sure exactly what would have been used on the original recording. I dare say a few different guitars and amps were used, and in early footage of the Bunnymen you see Will Sergeant often using a black Telecaster, so maybe that was involved. But as I said, you can hear some whammy bar action in the middle of the tune, so that wasn't the Telecaster. There must have been another guitar involved there. But today I've chosen to use my Jazzmaster. It's a 65 reissue Jazzmaster, and the amp I'm going into is my Vox AC30. Again, not sure what Will Sergeant would have used. In live footage you can see him with the classic sort of 80s jazz chorus amps, so maybe it was that on this recording. And I've got some effects happening today as well, and on that main riff you can certainly hear some chorus, so I'm using my Boss CE2 chorus pedal, and I wanted to use a little bit of compression today as well. It just helps particularly on that main riff, so I'm using the Origin Effects Cali 76 compressor, and this is quite a new acquisition, and it's a bit of a modern classic compression pedal, this one. Usually my go-to pedal compressor is the MXR Dynacomp, which I love, but it's not the most versatile pedal. It does one thing, and I think if you want a bit more control over compression, then this Cali 76 is the way to go. You've got lots of options. You can control the attack and release and the ratio of compression as well. It's also got this dry control as well, so you can blend in a little bit of the direct signal, and that way you can get a bit of a parallel compression thing going on. I think with compression sometimes there's the danger that it becomes a bit too much and it takes all of the life out of a sound. I mean, it's the nature of compression that it removes dynamics from the sound, and that can be quite exciting sounding, but it can also just make riffs sound a bit lifeless. So if you blend in a little bit of the direct signal, then I think that helps in bringing back a bit of responsiveness to the guitar when you're playing these kind of riffs. And for overdrive today I thought I'd mix things up, and I've actually got the first outing of a new pedal, and this is the small speaker overdrive from Great Eastern Effects, and this was actually very kindly sent to me by David, who runs the company, and it sounds fantastic. I'm really enjoying playing through it. So I've got quite a few overdrive pedals, shall we say, and most of them, let's face it, sound pretty similar, but the reason I like this pedal is it's trying to do something different, and it's called the small speaker overdrive. I think it's fairly widely known these days that you don't need big amps, loads of wattage to create really powerful sounds on recordings, and a lot of those classic 60s and 70s sounds were achieved with small amps, and that's what this pedal is designed to do, to give you those punchy small amp in the studio kind of sounds. And really enjoying this pedal so far. I'm sure you're going to be seeing it some more in future videos. And finally I've got a little bit of delay as well from the Boss DD6, and I was just turning that on and off as I was playing at the start of this video. I don't think you want the delay for the verse riff, but it sounds good for the main riff and for the middle section of the tune. Let me just switch those pedals on one at a time and you can hear exactly what they're doing. So guitar straight into the AC30 with no effects. And turn on the compressor. And then the overdrive. And then the chorus. And finally some delay. And then for that verse riff I'd probably turn off the delay in the chorus, so this is just the compressor and the small speaker overdrive. Right, that's it for this video. As usual, tab and backing track going to be up on my Patreon page. And if you would like to see more Bunnymen, do let me know. As I said, I have half prepared a few more Bunnymen tracks. There are plenty more great songs to choose from that would make for good guitar lessons, I think. So that can happen if there's interest out there. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time.